Angela, thanks for having me, to everyone at Tinker's Creek, and thanks for everyone who's here today. I'm really excited to be, having the opportunity to discuss this really important concept because soil health is life. It's everything. It's so important. And, in post-industrial cities like Cleveland, often it takes the back burner and we see the aftermath, still devastating, our outcomes, health outcomes, food cultivation, all that. So, I put together a little slideshow and we'll just have a little conversation. We'll go from there. So, thanks for being here, everyone. Right. So, it's called Healthy Soils, Healthy Communities. Navigating the complex landscape of soil health. There's a lot of things to consider on this topic. So, a little bit about Food Strong. Our mission is to cultivate food justice in Northeast Ohio and beyond by in building enduring local food systems from the ground up. So, we're very community engaged. We are all about collaboration, community engagement, and, working as a village to improve outcomes. We have three major program buckets: our youth education, our community engagement, and our urban restoration. Youth education, we're in 14 schools right now, serving nearly 400 schools a year, or students a year, with our programming, guiding students through designing, building, planting, maintaining, and harvesting their own on-site school gardens. We also do culinary, nutrition, and entrepreneurship programming, folded in through the lens of STEAM, social emotional learning, environmental stewardship, and workforce development. We also do our on-site caravan events where we bring in a ton of wraparound resources, health screenings, cooking education, and more to places like food pantries or farmers markets, and really create a wraparound wellness experience for the residents we serve. We also do community culinary, nutrition, gardening, foraging workshops, both on site at our locations as well as in various other locations that we get hired to come to. And then, of course, we have our urban restoration work. So we have been working with vacant land reuse for several years now in partnership with the County Land Bank, Red Green Partnership, and Cuyahoga County. That grant has since, passed, but taught us a lot. And as we continue to move forward with our major endeavor, the Superior Farm Fix Up, that knowledge has really helped us. What we're doing is we're creating a living classroom, community anchor, and food sovereignty hub in the heart of the St. Clair Superior neighborhood, which is it's located right across the street from Huff, and we are the northernmost point of the new 66th Street Cleveland Foundation corridor that they're building. It's almost 3 acres. There's a massive church on the property, a farmhouse, and three different hoop houses on the north lot, which haven't been restored yet, as well as two next to the farmhouse. One we've already restored, the other we've turned into a classroom. And then there's a edible forest and an orchard already on site that were cultivated by the organization that came before us that donated the property to us when they were also doing permaculture and organic farming. So we inherited this, and we are in the process of transformation. We've hosted thousands of volunteers over the last year, and we're doing a lot with both restoring the buildings and remediating them, and as well as the land. So the cool thing is the land is basically virgin farmland. This land has not been developed here on Superior on the left here. And the north lot where the hoop houses are, that's a parking lot currently. We're going to excavate it and do an intensive 3-year soil remediation restoration initiative using organic only methods. And then we're going to cultivate in-ground in that farm as well. So lots going on. We're excited to, take all the wisdom and knowledge we've gained over the years with our work and apply it in this beautiful, currently shabby, but lots of potential location. So let's talk about soil. So soil matters. It's not dirt, I got brainwashed by my brother in at Riddle. Don't ever call it dirt. It's soil. And it's important. It's alive. It's the foundation of our food system. It's it's filtration mechanism for our watershed. It sequesters carbon, and It's a huge determinant of our community health. Um, Urban soil currently, especially in Cleveland, Ohio, very degraded, often compacted, contaminated, neglected, and stripped of all life. So, whether it's from all the heavy metals and contaminants from industry that's in the soil or from our infrastructure. We in Northeast Ohio have very clay dense soil, so that gets compacted even more easily, and it doesn't really allow for root systems to thrive unless it's, given love. Very neglected, we'll often just, treat soil as just like, okay, it's just the earth to walk on. It's the grass that we know we want to grow, and we have no problems, inundating with pesticides and herbicides, so we can have our what we think is a perfect lawn, void of all value except for just grass, and you can't really do much with a lawn. But the fact that this attitude of, oh, you can't have these things we call weeds growing, which are often very medicinal and edible. Now not only are we stripping that soil of life and treating it just as a place to have some grass as opposed to a living ecosystem that should be, tended to and given love, you have a ton of really adverse outcomes in our environment, in our food systems, in our air quality. So, where we focus our work in Food Strong, it's even more this case because you have, underinvested, disinvested neighborhoods that experience redlining and all the other issues that we are aware of. And if you're not, look up redlining, look up the strategic disinvestment that occurred over the last century plus, and you'll realize that those communities are by far the most impacted, and are the most climate adverse, in terms of climate change. So we have a lot of work to do. You know, when you have the soil that hasn't been, stewarded, experience erosion, much less productivity, and when you try to grow food, and poor nutrition. The food you eat is only as nutritious as the soil it grows in. So because the roots are what pulling the minerals and nutrients out of the soil to put in the food. Well, if it's degraded, the food you're eating will A, not be as easy to cultivate, and B, not be as nutritious when it is cultivated. And of course, that risk to our environment, our watershed, all the sediment, all the poisons that are washing into our watershed, all the pesticides, all the things causing green algae blooms. I mean, and our water is our biggest asset here in Northeast Ohio. And while we've done a ton of great work, there's still a lot to do, especially as it relates to our soil health. And of course, community disinvestment. So if your soil health is low and things aren't growing as well, then your property values are going to go down. Your community will not get the type of investment and attention it deserves. When you restore your soil, obviously you can get more food, this ecosystems become more sound and can flourish. The land is safer. Your kids can play outside without worrying about, getting lead poisoning, for example. And then, people care more about stewarding and taking ownership over their communities because of the beauty and this wonderful foundation to build upon. So let's talk a little bit about how soil health supports food access, wellness, and resilient communities, something we're very passionate about with Food Strong. So healthy soil makes it possible, obviously, to cultivate a lot of fresh food and nutritious food. Soil health is justice. Soil health is food sovereignty. Food Strong is a food sovereignty organization. That means that we are passionate about helping. It's not giving the man the fish, it's teaching the man to fish. And if you're going to teach our communities self-resilience through food cultivation and access, then we're going to have to, show people how to grow it. And it starts with the soil. And you cannot grow food if the soil's unhealthy. And we have to think about how This isn't just about health, this is justice. So, like I said, when soil's healthier, food is more nutrient dense, gardens can become healing spaces. Mental health, physical health. We do our programming in the schools, and a lot of the feedback we get from our students is that it supports their mental well-being. It is a stress reducer. Getting outside, putting your hands in the soil, scientifically speaking, is really amazing for your overall health outcomes. And then in general, green spaces reduce stress. There's a ton of research out there that shows that the more beautiful your surroundings, the better your mental health. So it's all connected, it's interlaced. If you have better mental health, you're going to have fewer crimes happening. You're going to have a better quality of life, healthier people, able to make more money out in the world and have a higher quality of life all around. So, and then communities can reconnect with the land and with one another. They become spaces to gather, and also it's safety because you have people outside growing food. That's a lot more eyes on the neighborhood and less of them just inside on their devices all the time, and not paying attention. I feel like we've gotten really internalized and separate. While technology can unite us in a lot of ways, it's disconnected us from one another in the land. So it's such a wonderful impact for us all. So soil health, it can help us adapt to climate change because you're able to grow more plants, more trees, supporting your tree canopy. A lot of trees don't stand a chance. You'll see the trees that are grown, along the roadways that are rebuilt, and half of them, like if you look at Opportunity Corridor, it's sad, like some of those trees have died. Well, did they replenish and remediate and restore that soil? What kind of soil were they grown in? The roots need love. There was a lot of research recently about how a healthy soil that's not eroding, that's not blowing away in the wind because it doesn't have any substance or anything to it. It can sequester carbon. So, we can't undo the damage we've done from all the, industry, the fossil fuels, and things like that. But what we can do is restore our soils, and it could have a significant positive impact on our overall environmental outcomes that we're seeing. Of course, withstanding flooding. I have a rain garden in my backyard. I pulled out a lot of the clay, put in really healthy, good soil, as well as other soft materials, planted some native wetland plants, and now my backyard isn't flooding all the time. So it's wonderful. So there's so many wonderful benefits of that. And of course, we talked about the local food systems, the shared community green spaces. I saw Adrian in the audience here from Western Reserve Land Conservancy and what they do with creating those community green spaces. The reason they do that and do this kind of work, Trust for Public Land, all these other groups, is because of the overall, not just social benefit, but environmental benefits of those green spaces that they have. So soil restoration is community resilience. But there are a lot of challenges that we are currently seeing here in Cleveland, Ohio, and all over. So you have the lead, of course, the contamination. It's very unsafe for students or youth to play outside. And, it's not, but then you go inside and then there's lead paint, and how do you win, right? And obviously in the more redline communities, there is a positive correlation between the disinvested, lower income communities and lead poisoning in children. So it's like directly connected. Of course, you have the industrial pollutants, construction debris, compaction from pavement, and lack of organic matter. So, when we remove the parking lot on the northern lot of our farm, that's going to be a 3-year process to restore that soil, not only from the compaction, but also, what types of metals and materials they used in the paving materials. That all has just been going into the earth for decades at this point. And also you have not only, you think about industrial pollutants, you think about, okay, from the factories and this and that. What we also don't realize is that there are thousands just in Northeast Ohio, buried, forgotten gas tanks from old gas stations, because until the last few decades, when they developed Buster, and I've learned a lot about this with my vacant lot work recently, they didn't have to report out the existence of any gas tanks underground. These were built with materials that are rusted and leaching into our land, going right into our watershed consistently. So there's a ton of gases and fumes and other types of things you're finding in soils, even if you've done the best job ever at stewarding your land and building up your soil, but you're not, there's a buried gas tank at a former gas station you had no idea about, and now that's leaching in and creating damage. So it's a really big problem, and I don't think people realize the extent that we have devastated our environment in ways that we can't even see or perceive anymore. And of course, in the communities that have been disinvested, you'll see a lot more of that. You go to the suburbs, they will have definitely paid more attention to what's going on underground than in places like the inner city. For example, right across the street from our farm, there's a former gas station that we don't know if there's a gas tank under there or not. And on top of that, there's we've done a ton of soil testing, thank God, and it seems okay, but we don't know what's going on. And because you have to pay a lot of money to dispose of like used oil and other toxins safely, a lot of these places don't. You'll see dumping. I walked over there one day and I saw a full open container of used oil just dripping over right into the land. So that happens all over the place because it's expensive and people don't see the value in paying the extra money to dispose of it safely. Of course, it impacts all these things. Our health, our safe food safety, quality of our water. It's our biggest asset we have. And it's seriously at risk. Not only that, we just learned that, the data centers are trying to dispose of their water, used cooling water in our lake, which I'm sure that's a great idea. Nothing could happen with that, right? and the overall stability of our neighborhoods. So we need a lot of intervention, and it's a multifaceted approach. And there is a lot of opportunity. If you look at this map, you'll see how many vacant lots are dotted throughout our whole area, our whole city. It's 17 some thousand vacant lots in the city land bank, and another 13,000 in either the county land bank or privately owned vacant lots that just sitting there, not getting any attention or love. I know there's a lot of work to change how things can be acquired and how the land can be stewarded, but there's a lot of bureaucracy, and so there's a lot of work to be done, and it's not super easy at this moment. But if you think about 30,000 vacant lots and the potential for farming, gardening, community spaces, restoration sites, composting site, there's so much that we could do with this vacant land that's everywhere. And a lot of it, one thing we're going to be piloting out at our farm is an in-ground, year-round Wallapini style hoop house. So it's basically you just dig into the ground. It stays the same temperature year round, and therefore you can grow even tropical fruits in Cleveland, Ohio in February. So we could see some of those. Or when you pull up when you pull up a foundation or pull up a house, demolishing all these houses, keep the basement, keep the foundation, and grow in there. So there's a lot of opportunities, and one of the goals we have is to just do those things at our farm and then demonstrate how others can do those in their own neighborhoods, with the end goal being let us grow food all over our region. That's the only way we're going to be truly resilient as a community. Here's another one of the renderings of our farm. So let's talk about some solutions. It's not all at a loss. There are opportunities, there are things we can do, and we just have to be innovative, and we have to use all the amazing resources nature gave us. So let's talk about bioremediation. It's the use of things that already are in nature to clean our soil. It's super easy. I'm sure you've heard that sunflowers can pull up toxins out of the soil. Things like hemp, they do that too. There's a lot of certain plants that are bioremediators that suck it right out of the soil. Of course, there's a ton of research and positive outcomes associated with mycoculture, mycelia. They even found recently a type of mushroom that can eat plastic. There's mushrooms they found that can pull irradiated soil and pull the radiation out of the soil. The soil becomes safe, and because it dissipates, they said they could even still eat the mushroom. Like, that's crazy. Why aren't we exploring more of this? So testing out those types of amazing interventions, and of course compost. I learned recently that 36% of Cuyahoga solid waste, what they put in our landfills, is food waste. 36%. From my hat as city councilwoman, amount of money we have to like pay every year for our waste removal. We pay per pound. We could be doing so many more innovative things, and I know there's Rust Belt Riders out there and other groups really fighting the fight, but it needs to be a regional effort. It can't just continue to be, okay, this great small company here is nonprofit over there. It has to be, concentrated and really built out. So green composting, this is something I've been learning a lot. So the first thing we're going to do at our north lot is going to be growing a cover crop and then cutting it down and turning it back into the soil. That's green compost. It's a great way to fix nitrogen, help clean out the soil and nourish it. And then, of course, there's regenerative animal agriculture. So things like getting animals, like we're looking at chickens, maybe sheep, and rotating them on the land in different locations where they will, and this is after some preliminary remediation has already been done, but then they will actually turn the soil. Their waste will help, build the life back into the soil, and you need all those healthy bacteria and things like that. So that'll be a part of it as well. Animal ag, when done right and safely, can be a really amazing solution, but it needs to be a multifaceted and planned out stair-step solution. Can't just be one or the other. So when you're building up soil, the compost, mulching with wood chips. Wood chips are phenomenal because they break down over time and become soil. And even when you're building out, like I say, a raised garden bed, putting wood chips and even like logs and sticks at the base, those break down over time, so it becomes a continually regenerative bed. So it's not just, I got to add more fertilizer. I got to add more fertilizer because all the nutrients have been sucked out all the time with the food we're growing. It becomes an internal cycle. It's really beautiful. If you're interested in that, look up hugelkultur. Or lasagna gardening, where you layer your beds with different types of organic material that break down over time. So that's a really wonderful way to build up soil. The cover crops, different cover crops have different types of benefits to the soil. So looking at like doing those tests and saying, okay, what is missing? What's here that shouldn't be here? And then planning your crops accordingly. And then, of course, reducing compaction. One great way to do that, though, is just having different types of plants growing. Because when you have something like just grass, right? Grass is the worst culprit for compaction because if you ever pulled up grass, it's like a carpet. You just pull it up and you roll it out, sod carpet. So there's no roots going into the soil, getting in there. And therefore, if you look at this, you could see, you have some roots go down deeper than others. The grass roots at the top over here, you can't even see the roots because it's just so shallow. And so all that soil underneath is getting compacted, and no roots are going in there to break it up, to get water into it, to allow the ecosystems to thrive. And so grass is actually, if it's just grass and you didn't even allow any of the things we call weeds, which I call food and medicine, to thrive, then that's the worst culprit for compaction. We need to be very mindful of that. And then encouraging the biodiversity, that all plays together. Again, like allowing things to thrive, and stopping looking at everything as this has got to be a very pretty green lawn with no weeds. And then you rake up all the leaves, which is life for the different insects, and, a wonderful mulching tool. Like I'll just put all my leaves in my garden beds. Why would we get rid of them? And then God knows what some of the cities are doing with them. So thinking differently about nature, what it gives us, and putting that back in, because our soil is so depleted. We pull things out and we don't put them back in. We eat the food and we throw it in the landfill. Like we got to do better. So sometimes I feel a little lazy. I don't feel like going all the way back out to my compost pile in my yard. I'll just take the handful of whatever food scraps, I throw it in my yard. The animals will get to it, it'll break down. Like it's better than going in my trash. And so it's just an attitude shift. That's a big start. So we have, let me make sure I'm good on time, 30. Okay, so some steps. You always want to engage your neighborhood. You don't want to just do something and not talk to your neighbors, talk to your residents, talk to your local CDC, Community Development Corporation, talk to your local council person and local government officials. Get their buy-in, get their input. There might be resources you're not aware of. There might be something happening soon really close by and now you're duplicating efforts. Or their neighbors might be so against it, they thought, and I saw that a lot with our vacant lot project. People have a great idea and great intentions, but they never ask their neighbors. And then when we had a community meeting to kind of get that input, because it's vital, people are showing up and like, no, we don't want this. We could do it next in the next street over, but that we intended for this to happen. And so if you do that research in advance, you're not going to have to swim upstream trying to, solve all these problems you created by not asking. So that's number one important. Do that research, do that digging, do an analysis of the existing resources there. Find the property you're looking for. The different land banks have databases of that. Talk to a bunch of partners. There's partners out there that have really great ideas on how to landscape. You might think this is going to be a great garden site, but you didn't talk to any partners that could give you input, and they'll tell you that actually the soil isn't good for this, or there's too much shade. You're not going to be able to grow what you say you're going to grow. Here's a better site for that. So really, you got to ask, you got to know, you got to do all that back end stuff. Testing the soil before you plant anything. And if you're going to use it for something to put on or in your body, you got to test the soil. And then adding the appropriate organic matter. Like I said, every soil is different. If it's compacted, it's going to need a different type of input than if it's full of lead. Improving the drainage, as I mentioned, the rain garden really helped my site. Resilient crops. So resilient, it's almost a synonym for me. Native crops, native plants, because they're from here. They thrive. So try never to get things like English ivy. It's beautiful, but it's not from here, and it spreads and sucks the life out of everything around here. Things that are from here, they will thrive, but they're also restore our ecosystems and make our jobs a lot easier because they're going to reduce that compaction. They're going to replenish the soil just through their own root systems and how they break down over time. And then again, engaging the community through the process, getting volunteers. There's a lot of companies, organizations, schools that need service hours, so it's always a great place to start. This was our lot that we restored at the Coit Road Farmers Market. It was literally a pile of weeds and trash when we got it in 2020. During the pandemic, we couldn't be in the schools, so this was our first foray into urban restoration. Proud of it. We've passed the baton starting at the end of this past year because we couldn't do 2 sites. So we're putting all our love and efforts into this new site. But this is something I'm very proud of, and it was a big learning experience for us. So you gotta remember that soil restoration takes time. You gotta engage, educate. So we don't do stuff and just do it. What we do is we invite people in to learn through the process, and we learn as well. If we invite the community in, we're going to learn a whole bunch of things about the neighborhood or their goals or existing resources than if we had just done it on our own without asking. And every small step adds up. Whether if you stop putting your scraps in the trash, if you start switching out some of the plants you grow every year with some natives and stop using so many annuals, every little step adds up. So I already mentioned a bit about the Superior Farm. So we're going to be doing not only what I told you about on the north lot with the 3-year remediation process, but we're building out a community green space on the south lot next to the farmhouse. that's right accessible to Superior. So it's a great, we're calling it the Green Gateway. And we're going to build a rain garden where it's sunken in from where there's a former farmhouse. And we're going to use a soil cap product that is being donated by Kurtz Brothers. And this is available by them and it's super cheap. And we're trying to demonstrate that the city should be using this product on every lot where a house comes down. Because what it does, it's basically a combination of a type of ore and charcoal. And it will make the lead in the soil, which anywhere where there's a house that was built before the 70s, there's going to be lead in the soil because of the paint. It makes that lead completely non-bioavailable. The lead will never go anywhere. The lead's going to be here for thousands of years. But what you can do is make the lead not harm you or your children when it's consumed because you can't help it sometimes. So we're going to be doing some tests with that and like test over time how that impacts the health of the soil and the lead quality and lead absorption rates. So that's really exciting. And so we're going to be doing a longitudinal study and restoration of that site to create a space where people can come learn, gather, and have various types of educational experiences. So we're excited about that. It's all about the soil. And then our students get involved. They do soil testing. They build out compost. They grow food, and they learn how to, reconnect with our ecosystems. I get our students hugging trees. They didn't even realize that how calming it could be, and thought I was crazy. And then they started hugging trees. They're like, "Wait a minute, this is awesome!" So I love working with our youth. They are our future. We're actually going to be hosting our first ever Youth Opportunities Unlimited Summer Academy at the farm this coming summer. We're going to have 5 students, also a few interns, helping support these activities and learn through the process. And we also are launching a Future Leaders Advisory Board for high school and college students to get involved with our organization, to get experience and support our work as well. It'll help us a lot. So we're excited about working with our youth. But yeah, like I said, we've hosted over 3,000 volunteers. We've filled up 9 dumpsters, cleaned out the site so tremendously. It looks so much different than it had before when we got it. So very proud of that. It takes a village. Some of the things you can do, like I said, composting your scraps, or being a member if your community has a drop off with Rust Belt Riders, pay $10 a month and just drop it off in their bin. Doing your gardening, planting things, letting your grass thrive with other plant life. Stop thinking anything other than grass is a weed. Reducing or getting rid of chemical use, finding organic methods, finding local farms and farmers markets and local people, shopping local. Don't forget that every dollar you spend is a vote you cast for the type of world you want to live in. So do you want to live in a world controlled by monopolies? Or do you want to live in a world that is, built up by us, the people? Advocating, supporting green spaces, and getting involved with local policies. I am right now working in South Euclid to try to restore our tree canopy and push policies that will protect our trees. And it's like an uphill battle right now. So the more support I got from the community, the more likely it is we're going to be able to pass this. And it's vital. So get involved. As you can see here in this picture, I'm standing on where we had laid a bunch of fresh soil over where you can see what it looked like before, right? Swampy, degraded. This was like our first full year of it. So, our second full year. This was in 2021. Brand new, we were just getting started. So it makes a difference. And that site, as you saw earlier, really started to thrive. Here's some ways to get involved. You can scan the QR code. There's links to apply for the Youth Future Leaders Committee I told you about, or volunteer events. You can go on our website and subscribe to our newsletter. We're on social media. Reach out anytime if you'd like to connect. We love partnerships. It does take a village. If you want to come out and see the farm, we do have open volunteer time on Thursdays from 10 a.m. to about 7 p.m. starting back up in mid-March if anyone wants to get involved and see what we're up to. So I guess that gives us a little bit of time if anyone had any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. This was great. I know we just had a couple comments here. I know Adrian jumped on here thanking for the shout out and encouraging everyone to please plant a tree to help rebuild our soils, and that they just opened up their Tree for Clee tree giveaway and have a link for that as well. Let me see. Anybody have
Thank
a
you.
question? You want to unmute yourself and ask a question?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Christina.
Hey,
It's
Christina.
so
Okay, Christina's our community ambassador. She lives right across the street from our farm.
Oh,
I
great.
I'm just learning the computer and I had a hard time getting in, but you know what? I did it and I got to see your lovely face and thank you so much. And I think it's wonderful what you're doing. And I yes, yes, and all you're saying with compost and soil,
Well,
we
Christina,
the
you've seen
people.
the change at the site, huh? Since we got
And
there.
also actually it was wonderful because I was last year at the end of the year what your apple trees and I asked what's his name I said, oh my God, I just noticed. I'm like, can I have an apple? And what a blessing. And the
Absolutely.
apples actually came from Kazakhstan. You know that they're originated. So, but thank you. And no comments, really. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
all right.
So Matthew had a question. So thank you, Sarah. Could you please say a little more about how the soil cap works and repeat the sourcing details of the contaminated soil cap from Kurtz Brothers?
I just put Jason's this is contact email into the chat. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
he'd be happy to tell you more about it. But so for my preliminary and rudimentary understanding of it, they did all these different tests with different types of blends. But somehow, because of the way that there's a special type of ore, I'm not sure what kind. I sat through a presentation about it, and we're going to do a bunch more on site. So if you subscribe to our newsletter, when we are doing more about that, I'll send out some info about how to get involved or how to attend the trainings. But uh, basically, the type of ore and the way this charcoal interacts with this topsoil that they add it to, and they blend it all together. When they lay it on top of the lot, it creates, it binds, and then it creates a way so, like, if it's the lead's in the dust or lead's in the soil, when you breathe it or if you eat it for whatever reason, it flushes right through you. I don't know all the scientific details, but we are very closely partnered with Ohio State University Soil Sciences, and they're doing a lot of work with Kurtz and with us, and to demonstrate this, do some tests on it, and hopefully, with the work we're able to demonstrate at our farm, we can support getting this adapted more at the city level.
Wow, that's really interesting. Are you going to be sharing more details about that, like anywhere on your website? I'm guessing Ohio State's going to write a
Well,
paper.
our newsletter is probably the best way to get like some of
Okay.
that kind of information. And so when we do have like community workshops, so anything we do, we're gonna invite the community to come learn with us. And we did get a Cleveland Tree Coalition grant recently in partnership with Trust for Public Land to do some tree plantings and incorporate education and research around that soil cap blend product into it. And with the tree stewardship program, we will offer some paid tree community tree steward positions so people can not only help us steward and maintain our trees and get paid for it, but then also learn more about this product and just overall soil health and how it all plays in.
Very cool. Thank you. Someone had asked, do you sell the fruits and vegetables that you're growing at your farm?
So we have been. We have a mobile farm stand that we pull up to places like farmers markets and other places. It's a restored pop up camper. You know, you get on Facebook Marketplace for like a couple $100, and we're like, I cannot afford right now a food truck, right? And like, I'm all about upcycling, and it's been a cool experience. I want to do more to it and make it better. But this year, because we are just like super in the weeds with this farm restoration, we're gonna scale back because we're not at Coit anymore. When we were at Coit, we had a lot more growing. So we're going to scale back. We're going to activate maybe two of the hoop houses on the property. And we're just going to sell to our major partner at this Cleveland Metropolitan School District because they put our produce in the salad bar program. In fact, every school we're in Cleveland Public gets a salad bar because of our relationship. So that produce is often focused on the schools we teach in, so the kids can eat food that their teachers and their food strong people grew. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to scale back and really focus there this coming season. But as we continue to expand out more, we will go back into some of the farmers market settings. We were looking to start a farmers market at our farm because there isn't currently one in the St. Clair and Superior neighborhood. But then also, selling to other institutions and hopefully get in stores. And part of our ultimate 5-year strategic plan is to have a farm stand located on Superior Avenue so people can come right up and get local foods, fresh local items and products and things that, because like in that neighborhood, there's nowhere I could go and buy the, organic local stuff I try to consume or put on my body, right? And we know that there's thousands of chemicals in our American foods that are mostly readily available in the inner city redlined communities and therefore, get more access to other things in that neighborhood.
That's awesome. That's really cool. There was another one here. Oh yeah. Someone asked, does Cleveland have a database slash GIS map showing the buried gas tanks that you were talking about?
So Buster, Bustr,
I see you just put that
but
in there.
that's not the ones that before they had to report them in like starting I think the 90s. So there's buried gas tanks from the 50s that
Oh,
they don't even know, like, and there's no way to tell. So if it's not in Buster, then it's like a who knows kind of vibe. And I had that multiple times doing all this vacant lot work. They're just like, you don't know. So Buster has the ones they know about.
okay. Any other questions? These were all great questions. You were doing some really amazing work. It was very exciting to learn a bit more about all that you're doing in the community and see how far you've come. So has it even been a year since you've been working at that new farm site? Didn't you
We
break ground?
started our like volunteer work there in August 2024.
2024. Okay.
August 2024, but yeah, it's whew. And
Yeah,
everything takes a lot longer than you ever would have expected, so that's
of
fun.
course.
So please, guys, follow us on social. Get our newsletter. We will have our upcoming gala on September 9th this year at Lago Custom Events. It's called Botanical Wonderland. We'll play
Oh,
on Alice in Wonderland. It's going to be
cool.
that themed of Alice in Wonderland. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a great way to support the mission, learn more about us, and hopefully get more involved. So come out, get involved any way you feel comfortable. You can always use support, volunteers, donations. We have a huge, massive endeavor in our hands, and a lot of the dollars that we thought were going to be available when we took it on stopped being available after the new
Mhm.
administration. So kind of in a interesting place right
Yes.
now. So we would love any support you can offer. And thanks again, everyone.
And someone did ask for the link to that event. And if you want to add it, Sarah, I will send it out when I send the follow-up email to everybody as well.
So yeah, it's just to save the date right now, but I will definitely,
Okay.
can I send you the flyer you can send everyone?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Well,
everyone.
thank
I
you
appreciate your
everybody
kind
for
words.
joining us. We really appreciate it. Don't forget there'll be a survey when you exit, and we have one more webinar next month. It'll be Allison Wakim talking a bit about pollinator gardens and Shinrin Yoku. I think I just said that wrong. But anyways, that'll be next month. So I will send those details out with the follow-up email. Thank you again, Sarah. We greatly appreciate
Thanks for
you
having
speaking
me. Take
today.
care.
Bye-bye.